I'm Jose Miranda from the Minnesota Twins, and you're watching Talkin Twins.
Welcome to The Buzz, presented by Talkin Twins. We'll start first with a quick season review, but really, it's more of an autopsy. The Twins ended the season with a record of 82 wins and 80 losses. That places them 17th overall in baseball, and that means they have the number 14 spot for next year's draft. So if there's any silver lining here for the Twins, they better have their fingers crossed that number 14 spot ends up jumping even higher, just like it did in 2023 when the Twins jumped from number 13 to number 5 and drafted Walker Jenkins. The final blow for the Twins came in September when they lost 27 of their last 39 games. Injuries to key players like Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, Joe Ryan, Brock Stewart, and Royce Lewis did not help, and the trade deadline brought no real improvements either. At one time this season, the Twins were on top of the AL Central, but they finished in a disappointing 4th place. Changes are needed. Keep watching. We'll discuss that more in a bit. Next, there's possibly some controversy brewing in the clubhouse. As the Twins' late season collapse unfolded, a key disagreement between two of the team's biggest stars has begun to raise some eyebrows. Reportedly at the center of it, star Twins players Royce Lewis and Carlos Correa. Speaking on who's responsible for the Twins' success, Royce Lewis told Bobby Nightingale of the Star Tribune, "It kinda falls on obviously the players, but I didn't realize it was just on us. Now I know that we're going to carry a lot of the load, especially the young guys. The cheap guys is the best way to put it." According to MLB.com's Do Young Park, Lewis said, "I think when you rely on a lot of guys that you probably weren't expecting to for that long. I think for a while there, everyone overachieved and played well, did a very good job. I'm not going to speak on anyone else's opinions, but my opinion, I think that some guys, myself, I ran out of gas. I'm trying my best. It's a different grind." But Carlos Correa wasn't buying it. He fired back to reporters, "Everyone runs out of gas. The season is long. The guys who stay mentally strong are the ones who succeed. Being tired is not a valid excuse at this point." So why does this matter? Royce Lewis's frustration with the Minnesota Twins' late-season collapse reflects deeper issues within the organization, as highlighted by his candid comments to the media. In his interviews with reporters, we've now seen Lewis openly discuss feeling exhausted from having to shoulder the burden of carrying the team, particularly in the absence of injured star players like Buxton and Correa. His remarks, especially when he referenced the team's reliance on the young guys, the cheap guys, underscores dissatisfaction with ownership and the front office's lack of investment in finding adequate replacements during key stretches of the season. The team's failure to invest in experienced talent led to over-reliance on young players like Lewis, pushing them to physical and mental limits. This reliance on cost-effective younger players rather than pursuing veteran reinforcements to keep the team competitive is a common theme that Twins fans have grown frustrated with for decades. For someone like Lewis, who's emerging as the face of the franchise, these pressures felt by the players are only exacerbated by a front office that seemingly prioritizes saving money over building a more robust roster capable of weathering injuries and adversity. The Twins' ownership has been notorious for pocketing revenue and not investing in high-caliber players, especially during crucial playoff pushes. Royce Lewis's comments hint at the toll that this strategy is taking not on just the team's performance, but on its young stars, who are being asked to do too much with too little support. His expression of fatigue and disappointment speaks to a larger systemic issue within the organization, one that affects not just the immediate success of the team, but also its long-term relationship with key players like Lewis. This situation could ultimately harm the organization's ability to retain these young stars if they feel they're being set up to fail without proper reinforcements. But turning this over to Twins fans, how do you feel? Is a split forming between two of the Twins' top stars, Lewis and Correa? If so, the season is long and frustrations tend to mount towards the end of the season, so it's completely understandable when players don't see eye to eye during a rough patch. Do you agree with Correa that players being tired is just an excuse? Or do you think the Twins over-relied upon and overused their young players to their own detriment? Whatever your take, let's hear it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Next, Rocco Baldelli is returning for 2025. Let's talk about what that means. With 3 division titles in 6 seasons, Baldelli's tenure continues, and here's hoping for a bounce-back year in 2025. The Twins' president of baseball operations, Derek Falvey, told reporters, "I believe in his process. I believe in him. I believe in the partnership I have with him. That is how I feel, and ultimately, that's the way we're going to go forward." Baldelli told the media, "I don't take that vote of confidence lightly. It means an immense amount to me. I want to bring glory to this area, to the people who care about this team. I want to bring that happiness to this fan base."
It couldn't be more disappointing as far as the way the season went. I feel very repetitive having to, declare that all the time, but that is the truth. That's how we feel. We broke down as the season went on, so now Now there's even, more work than probably any off season that I've ever had in front of me, and organizationally the same.
In referring to the Fire Rocco chants from some fans, Bailey Ober told the media, "I don't think it's super fair to put everything on him. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. If the players hear the chants, I don't think anyone's agreeing with that. It's like, seriously, can't you see what's going on? He's not the one at fault for this mishap that happened. We're the ones performing out there and didn't get the job done. He's putting out the lineups and we're trying to do it. I feel like most of the blame should be on the players." Meanwhile, Carlos Correa missed 53 games with a foot injury this season, and he told reporters, "If you have anybody to blame me for going down for 2 months and not being part of the team. I think that's one of the main reasons." So is Rocco to blame for the team's performance down the stretch? Or do you agree with the players that they should be blamed instead of Rocco? Next, Derek Falvey will also be returning for 2025. He admitted that the past 6 weeks have been his toughest stretch, owning the disappointment and promising that things will be better next season. He acknowledged the letdown for the fans, but also insisted that the team can turn this around. Twins executive chair Joe Pohlad told reporters about Falvey, "I don't judge employees off of 6 crummy weeks. He's busting his ass. He's the right guy." According to The Athletic, Falvey said, "I've never experienced the frustration, the anger, the disappointment, and the embarrassment that I have over the last 5 to 6 weeks. To go through what we just went through and to leave everyone disappointed the way we have, I take personal accountability for. It's been the hardest stretch of my professional career because I know the team is better than that. We let our fans down, we let ourselves down, and if you don't feel that as a player, as a staff member who's here with this team, then you probably need to be in a different business. My job from this point forward is to make sure this never happens again. We need to be better than this. There's no other way to put it. And we will be better than this, and the group we go forward with will be better than this. That's the message I have for the players, the staff, and for everybody associated with this team. This is not acceptable baseball." Derek Falvey has significantly overhauled and improved the Twins' developmental system ever since joining the organization as chief baseball officer in 2016. His background with Cleveland, where he worked extensively in player development, scouting, and baseball operations, set the foundation for his leadership in Minnesota. One of Falvey's key strategies has been enhancing the Twins' focus on analytics, technology, and player development systems, much like what was done in Cleveland during his tenure there. As the 2024 season wraps up, the Twins' farm system is now ranked either number 2 or number 3 by most outlets. Falvey will have a busy offseason, as there are expectations that the team will look different next year based off of his comments, so we'll have to wait and see how the team addresses their shortcomings and their late season collapse. If you're enjoying this, hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed. Next, let's talk about Joe Pohlad. Are the Twins going to proceed with business as usual? Let's talk about it. During a tense Q&A with members of the media, Joe Pohlad dodged questions about payroll and ownership priorities. Fan morale is at a low, and 300,000 fewer people attended games this season as the team fell short of their own projections for attendance. Both Joe Pohlad and Derek Falvey downplayed payroll cuts as the reason for the team's downfall, but the organization reportedly doesn't plan any further payroll deductions for 2025. During the Q&A session with members of the media, reporters were instructed that they were not allowed to use any recordings of the interviews as audio clips. Writer Aaron Gleeman from The Athletic asked Joe Pohlad whether the Twins are just one of his many businesses or if the team is considered more than just a business. Pohlad gave him non-answers and refused to give the details, and this is a very telling back and forth, so let's dive into a breakdown of what was said, which was shared online by Gleeman. Gleeman: "You said you have to make business decisions, but does a sports franchise necessarily need to be treated as a typical business? Or can it be treated as part of a bigger community and you're the stewards of something that involves thousands of people? As you look forward, is this going to continue to be treated as just revenue went down, payroll goes down, or is there a different view of a sports franchise? You own a lot of businesses. Is this just one of them, or is this potentially viewed differently?" Pohlad: "No. I view my job as running our business on behalf of this team and our fans, and I'm trying to manage our business so that we can put out a winning team, both in the short term and in the long term. And sometimes things come up, whether they are a number of different things, I'm not going to get into them. And then decisions need to be made. I'm not going to get into those types of decisions, but it is both long term and short term in terms of how you were describing it, Aaron. So yeah, the goal is always to have a winning product on the field where fans can come and get excited about their team." Gleeman: "Because of the performance on the field, but also the fan morale coming into the season, I'm sure whatever your internal projections were for revenue fell at least somewhat short. Does that almost become a cycle in that if you lower payroll, fan morale and performance on the field goes down, and then at the end of a season you say, well, revenue went down, so we need to lower payroll again, and it just repeats itself?" Pohlad: "If we have a winning product, regardless of what our payroll is, I think fans will come out." Gleeman: "Sure, but there is some relationship between revenue and record. And when you miss the playoffs by a few games, it's fairly straightforward to say, would X number of million have helped that? So as you look forward to next season, is it going to be similar in terms of resources given to the front office? Pohlad, I'm not going to get into payroll right now, but we will have a better product on the field next year. So there you have it. That's the back and forth. There's a lot to unpack here, but ultimately, the big question is, how did we get here? Amidst the excitement of the Twins winning their first playoff series in 21 years, Joe Pohlad claimed that the team didn't have any quit in them and that this was just the beginning of a lot of success to come.
The season's a battle, right? It's a marathon, and this team, they don't have any quit in them.
And this is just the start, right?
Absolutely, just the start.
Then, in the months that followed, the Twins cut payroll by $30 million because of the team's uncertainty with its TV contract. Sonny Gray left in free agency, the team made no noticeable effort to bring him back, and the Twins also made no effort to sign a pitcher to replace him, opting instead for internal replacements via rookies and minor league pitchers. All of this meant that the Twins front office had to go shopping in the bargain bin. This approach, after last year's division title and playoff series win, was a slap in the face to the fan base, and also limited what Falvey and the rest of the front office could do. Fans were in disbelief that right when the Twins had momentum, ownership was suddenly offering the front office fewer resources instead of making the most of their opportunity to compete for a championship while the window was open. After all, what was the point in bringing Carlos Correa to Minnesota as a free agent on a $200 million contract if the Twins weren't willing to go all in to surround him with other parts needed to win? In February 2024, Joe Pohlad explained to WCCO Radio that he intends to follow in the footsteps of the Tampa Bay Rays and Baltimore Orioles by not spending on additions and building from within the team's own farm system. But is it a fair comparison to compare the Twins to the Rays or Orioles? When the Orioles felt their window to compete had arrived, they traded for ace pitcher Corbin Burns, who played a major role in their success this year. Sure enough, the Orioles are in the playoffs. The Twins are not. Here's what Pohlad said in February.
How do we justify cutting payroll now?
I think it's understandable from those fans' standpoint when you just look at it on paper why, if we just had the success that we did last year, why we would reduce our payroll. I think in today's game, you can see there are a number of different ways to win, and that's both. You see that both with the Tampa Bay Rays, with the Baltimore Orioles having lower payrolls and turning out very successful products on the field, but also investing in other areas of their business. And that's just something that we are really considering. That's it's not even something we're considering. That is something that we're doing. But without a question, the television situation is having an impact on our business. But beyond that, we're also just trying to right-size our business.
Fast forward to the end of the 2024 season, and Pohlad's stance is that the Twins are a business. His stance is that fans will show up and support the team if they're doing well, regardless of how much they spend on payroll. It's clear as day that the front office has been asked to do more with fewer resources, a common corporate tactic to increase profits. But are fans buying tickets to Twins games to cheer on profits or cheer on a baseball team? Ownership has made it clear they see the team as a way to make money, while the Twins community and the fan base at large see the organization as a baseball team which has a duty to compete and put the best team on the field, or as Joe Pohlad likes to refer to it, putting the best product on the field. As a result, many fans are fed up with ownership and have chosen to not renew their season ticket packages for next season. Just 1 year after the Twins reignited the excitement of the fan base and won back the support of many fans who'd given up on the team years before, all of that excitement, optimism, and progress from the 2023 season appears to have evaporated. Regardless, team ownership and the front office are showing a united front by insisting that payroll issues are not to blame for the team's sudden collapse. If you're enjoying this, hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed. Then next, a Minnesota Twins fan claims he was kicked out of Target Field, arrested, and slapped with a 1-year ban for holding up an anti-Pohlad sign during the 7th inning stretch of the September 27th game. The sign briefly appeared on the Jumbotron, and shortly after, it's been alleged that Target Field security confronted him, citing stadium rules against derogatory signs. The fan allegedly refused to comply and was asked to leave. A Twins representative told Fox 9 News that the fan was verbally abusive and using profanity around families, which escalated the situation. Meanwhile, the fan insists he was just protesting. On the latest episode of the Gleeman and the Geek podcast, Aaron Gleeman provided more insight on the situation based on conversations he had with sources at the Twins.
People bring negative signs to sporting events all the time.
Correct.
I mean, people were chanting "Fire Rocco," people were chanting "Sell the team."
Yes.
You'd have to be morons as a team to think you can police that to the extent that it will not happen. And I'm not saying the Twins are incapable of acting stupidly, obviously, but they don't
or thin-skinned.
They don't rough up and throw out on their ass every person who brings a negative sign.
Sure.
So my question was, what was different here? Whatever. So, and I was told, now this is coming from Twins employees, so I have no idea if this is true or not. Logically, it seems as though something must have happened additionally to cause the reaction to this guy, but I have no idea if that's true. So I'm not vouching for anything. But they basically said they asked him to take the sign down. He refused to do it. He was, according to them, drunk, really drunk and belligerent. And then the kind of breaking point, according to the Twins, was that he was saying the Pohlads are, well, let's call it C words. And he was screaming it. And they were like, there's kids here, there's families here.
Sure.
He wouldn't stop. We asked him to leave. He wouldn't do it. And so we made him leave, basically. Now, I'm sure the truth is somewhere in the middle of both versions of that.
Without footage of the entire incident, it's impossible for anyone to know exactly what happened here, except for the fact that there actually is footage of the incident in question, and from what the footage shows, it doesn't exactly back up the Twins' account of how things went down. Earlier in the game, the fan is seen holding up a sign that reads, "Twins fans matter." Later in the game, the fan is seen once again holding up the same sign. And right here is footage of the fan quietly waiting, and then holding up a sign which reads, "Defund the Pohlads." As you'll see, he doesn't make a sound and doesn't bother anyone. After having his moment with the sign, the fan quietly but quickly leaves the area without incident, without talking to anyone, and without swearing around any of the families who are in the area. So this footage appears to directly contradict the narrative the Twins are telling members of the media off the record. As usual, the Twins organization loves their off-the-record comments. Anytime there's bad news for the Twins, they tend to prefer hiding away from the public. But when things are going well, suddenly they're front and center. Why is that? It's important to note that a Twins representative told Fox 9 News that the fan who brought anti-Pohlad signs to Target Field was verbally abusive and using profanity around families. None of that is seen or heard in the footage, but there is footage of the fan being physically restrained by a member of the Twins security, which once again does not look good for the Twins. Whatever happened here, it seems the issue might just be what most assumed it was. The message on the sign: Defund the Pohlads. And in the days since this incident, the story has only gained traction. That's the Streisand effect in all of its Target Field glory. And again, all for what? Because someone held up a sign with a harmless message which would have otherwise gone ignored and not resulted in news stories? And is there even anything derogatory about this message anyway? Or is this just another case of the Twins organization once again showing the fan base that it has thin skin when they're criticized? And who ordered the hit? Was it the Pohlads themselves, as many have alleged? I doubt that. More than likely, it was probably just an overzealous minion or executive who made the call to security, leading to the fans' removal, days of pouring more fuel on a raging fire for no reason whatsoever, a lot of confusion and conflicting reports, and a fan who is now banned for 1 year. This definitely wouldn't be the first time this season that the Twins absolutely butchered a situation which then required an internal investigation to uncover all the mistakes the Twins made. At some point, it would behoove the Twins to actually start learning from those mistakes, instead of doubling down and looking even worse to the public than they already do. Time after time in situations like these, the Twins prove their critics right. Ultimately, problem resolution is just not one of the strengths of the current Twins organization. One thing that is clear is why this happened. This situation is a symptom of a larger problem. The fan base is fired up, especially with frustrations over the Pohlad family cutting payroll by $30 million. The Pohlads' decisions have not sat well with fans, and this incident just adds fuel to the fire. But let's turn this over to you. Did the Twins overreact here? Or do you feel their response was justified? Whatever your thoughts, let us know. And there you have it, you've made it to the end of this episode, and we really appreciate that. Hit the like button down below. Then take just 1 second of your time and make sure down below that you are subscribed to this channel. We ask that you do, because that guarantees that we definitely get to see you back here next time. Thanks for watching.